Come on out to Mississauga, it's the greatest place around. Where on a quiet evening you can watch the sun go down. And if you should need a friend, there are plenty to be found. That's why everybody loves that good old Mississauga.
Hello, and thank you for joining us here on Ask a Historian. I'm Matthew Wilkinson, historian with Heritage Mississauga. Please send in your questions to history@heritagemississauga.org as we explore the fascinating stories of Mississauga together here on the program. Like, subscribe, and follow us and stay up to date on all the heritage happenings with Heritage Mississauga. As part of this program, we will be exploring memories, moments, and milestones from the past 50 years with past and present civic leaders and citizens as part of the City of Mississauga's 50th anniversary. On this week's episode, we are excited to be joined by City of Mississauga Ward 3 Councillor Chris Fonseca as we explore her personal perspectives of moments and milestones for the City of Mississauga's 50th anniversary. Well, joining us today, Councillor Chris Fonseca, and for wandering down memories and milestones from the City of Mississauga's 50th anniversary. So thank you, Councillor Fonseca, for spending some time with us here.
Yeah, well, thank you, Matthew, for the opportunity. When I got the invitation, I was so excited to be able to be part of this. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to having the discussion today with you.
Well, wonderful. I look back at your career on council too, and I think that you've been on council for a tremendous amount of change, which our city doesn't normally go through. So it's, the more recent years will be interesting to reflect on too. But so let's jump in right into our story here. And when did Mississauga become home to you?
So I have Ukrainian roots, my family, and I've for as long as I can remember, going back to when I was very young, probably, well, even before I was born, I have family that found roots, established roots in West Toronto, Bloor West Village, Ukrainian roots, and then also in East Mississauga. And so it's really, I have a Ukrainian connection going back to long before I was on council. And then I met my husband, Peter, in the 1990s. And of course, he's Portuguese background, and he has established roots not only in Toronto, but in East Mississauga. And there's a pretty vibrant Portuguese community as well. And we met and decided, you know what, this is the perfect place for us to raise our family. And to this day, we still have, both of us still have family that live in East Mississauga, and then in other parts of Mississauga as well.
I was gonna say borders are sometimes this thing that people move between. So you never look at Mississauga as, this little encapsulated place. We certainly have our ties into Etobicoke and West Toronto and those years. So Mississauga has become home more recently, personally to you, but in the historical context of the 50 years. But your roots go back, and so you must have visited here as a child. And I'm just wondering what some of your early memories of Mississauga are.
Many memories. So again, tied to my family roots, Ukrainian roots, and then extended family Polish roots. So my earliest memories are really through festivals. I attended Carasaga as a dancer and as a resident enjoying Carasaga from a very young age, long before I was ever on council. My father was a dentist, an oral surgeon by trade, by career, but he was very involved in the Ukrainian community, and in Toronto, also in Guelph and in Mississauga. And he was he had a passion for music, and he played the accordion. And he went to the University of Toronto. I went to the University of Toronto. My mother did. One of my brothers did. one of my grandparents did. And also through his love of accordion, there's not too many accordion players out there. There's more now, but a longstanding resident in East Mississauga, and who still lives in East Mississauga, Cooksville, is Joe Massarolo. And so I have a lot of memories actually of my father playing the accordion at different festivals in Mississauga and Toronto, and connections through to the Ukrainian community, the Polish community, but just through festivals, music, dance, myself playing the cello, memories of being able to perform not with the Mississauga Symphony, but some of the musicians that back then, I don't think any now, that played with the Mississauga Symphony, and also connections through our memories of really being out in nature. My father and my mother were really, really supportive of and encouraged us. I'm one of four. I'm the oldest of four kids. So encouraged us to get out and explore and really respect nature. So we would ride our bikes. I don't know how many hundreds of kilometers up and down the Etobicoke Creek Trail, which wasn't as connected as it is now.
Yep.
Also along Dundas Street, also along the waterfront, into Mississauga, and really establishing a love for our waterways, our open spaces, our parks, and then finally through sport. Again, long before I was on council, I swam competitively, and I volunteered with Special Olympics, and with Paralympics, and volunteered really through sports. So met a lot of the individuals that to this day in the city of Mississauga are leaders in just connecting community through sport. So really sport, culture, and the outdoors are some of my earliest memories of being in Mississauga.
I'm picturing, so a performer, a dancer, a swimmer, and
I wasn't a very good dancer, I have to say. Not a very good dancer. I tried.
no,
I tried.
a really varied and a wealth of experience as an upbringing that connects you to community too. And the Paralympics is a fascinating background as well.
Yes.
Sorry, go on.
For sure. So on my father's side, my father was very, very, again, a love for arts, music, and just connecting with people. He also was a lifelong Lion.
Okay.
So he just through the Lions Club and just a servicing and giving back to community. Again, just connecting community really through service, and then through music and culture. That really came from my father. And then on my mother's side, she was a physio, and she got us all involved in sport, but most importantly, just the connections that the abilities that can be found through sport. She was a physio that worked for quite some time at the W. Ross McDonald Center for the Blind in Brantford. And through that, just in terms of getting connected to, again, volunteering and getting connected to Special Olympics, para swimming, and para involvement in sport. So there's kind of the mix between my mother and my father, and that's where all of us really came to understand the significance of volunteering and giving back to the community. And that is where you can really help community grow and support one another within community.
I'm just guessing here, but I'm saying that's a solid foundation for the career choice that you would have in running for council and giving back and helping to build communities. That's probably a solid foundation on which to build.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So, given your look back over time, your time here in the city, living in the city, interacting with the city, visiting, traipsing on your bike down the waterfront trail and the like, what are some of the changes that come to mind? I mean, City of Mississauga has evolved tremendously over 50 years. What are some things that stick out in your mind that you've seen, that you've witnessed, the changes that have taken place?
Well, I would say for sure we are a city that is, you know, at one point when I was very young. So, I mean, the concept of suburb and city wasn't necessarily well defined when I was under 10 years of age.
Right. Yeah.
But the difference between even myself, so I went to the University of Toronto, but then I took a number of summer courses because I had family that lived in East Mississauga and West Toronto. I rode my bike and took a number of courses at what was called Arundel campus when I went to the University of Toronto, Mississauga. And so what is really, I would say, changed significantly is kind of the culture or the 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 um the understanding or the growing pains of going from suburb to um really a global urban hub. I think that on the one hand, Mississauga, even when I was in my teenage years and when I was in university, and then even uh, all through the time that all through I would say the 2000s, even up until now, um, really Mississauga has been global and welcomed. So Mayor McCallion, former Mayor McCallion, and then Mayor Crombie, and then also Mayor Parrish, now Mayor Parrish. All of them have always been supporters of welcoming and being open to like a global city, and ensuring that everybody is welcome to our city. And so I think that from a perspective of us being a very global city, we've been that way for a very long time. I'm sure you can recall that Hazel, she would travel the world when she
Mhm.
was the mayor. And then also Mayor Crombie, similar, ensuring that everybody knew that we welcomed everyone in Mississauga, whether it's businesses, whether it's individuals from all cultures, all backgrounds. And then we have UTM, and we also have Sheridan College, and then we have a number of trades colleges that are also very welcoming globally. But when I think about the biggest changes, it would be so that it's the mindset of really
Right.
from suburb to urban to city. It's not so much in the makeup of the people per se, but more in the hard infrastructure. So the roadways, the transportation networks,
Yeah.
the type of housing. So that's been I've seen as a huge change. The other would be, I think, on a positive side of things, how we have even in my time on council, I think we are making great strides, and we can always to do better in terms of respecting Indigenous peoples. So, obviously, and you would be well aware, as part with Heritage Mississauga, it's one thing that we kind of acknowledge. Even doing a land acknowledgement is one thing, but to actually have voices and welcome and encourage voices, diverse voices at the table to say, okay, what are we doing well? How can we make things better? How can we better not only acknowledge your land, the lands that we reside on, but how can we celebrate and support? And I think I've seen many changes in policy, many organizations collaborating together to support the indigenous peoples. Mississaugas of Credit First Nation, and we're doing much more, and we need to do more. But I've seen a huge change, and as far as also our approach to how we don't just, we're doing a better job of not just talking about diversity and inclusion, but we have created a number of committees where the mandate of those committees is to really ensure that there is a diverse number of people at the table representing so much diversity that we have, so that we can really include everybody in our city of Mississauga, whether it be young people, families, newcomers, those with accessibility needs, Indigenous community, members of the LGBTQ community, and so on and so forth. And I think that is another significant change that I've seen. And then I would also say that a huge change that I've seen is that we are welcoming so much innovation when it comes to whether it be young people, again, whether it be new ways to provide business and support business, whether it be new ways that we are providing services. So yeah, those are some of the things that I've seen changes, and many more, but those are just a few.
I said it's one thing to say it, it's another thing to do it, and I've seen Mississauga doing it, and that's what is so gratifying to see, not just from Indigenous, but like I said, inclusivity and belonging to kind of any culture, any group, any interest. Like it really is fascinating to see the city evolve in that way, and I'd have to agree with you completely on that from my perspective as well. So when you look at, you've got your history before council and probably since council as well. You've done a lot of volunteering in and around the community. What are some of the groups that you've been involved with? Some of the things you've supported or in the community over time?
Oh yes, I was, when I saw this question, I was looking back, and it's I never really thought of the I've never really thought of it before, but I mean, the list, obviously I'm in a very grateful and privileged position to be able to be connected to groups every day. I meet groups every day because of my role. And so before coming onto council, as I said, through my family, and then also through my husband, I was connected to many service groups. So Lions Club, Knights of Columbus, I have a long time been associated with Knights of Columbus and the Lions Club. I've been associated with the Dixie Bloor Neighborhood Center, which is in Ward 3. And they're a very incredible group that is their settlement services, but really understanding and knowing East Mississauga and Ward 3 and what the needs are as they've been evolving over the years. They support everyone in the community. There's Our Place Peel, which supports young people and finding shelter for young people and supports and services, which is also located in Ward 3. They're now expanded and also have a shelter in Brampton. The Mississauga Symphony and Mississauga Youth Symphony, I've been a long time supporter of the symphony. And since being on council, I've sat on the board as the council representative. Barvinok Dance is a Ukrainian dance organization. It's located in Ward 3. I got to know Barvinok again long before I got onto council through my background. But once I was elected, and even before I was elected, I would attend the concerts, but more importantly, being involved with Barvinok to just support and volunteer with them as an organization. And our kids danced for, I guess, 14 years with Barvinok. They have almost 600 dancers. And it's pretty incredible what they do, not only to support and educate and make awareness of Ukrainian culture and heritage in Mississauga and in East Mississauga, but also really how they support the community. Breakfast with Santa is another organization. They provide programs to and have long time provided to some of the most vulnerable schools in Ward 3, but throughout the city of Mississauga. The Sports Council in Mississauga, Applewood Hockey, the Latin Festival, Special Olympics, Giving Tuesday, Food Banks Mississauga, because I've been, again, privileged or honored to have the food banks. They've been located in East Mississauga and Ward 3 for my entire time on council. So Luso, which is a Portuguese organization that supports adults with disabilities. Just an incredible organization. Midweek Cycling, East Mississauga Lamp, Dixie Soccer, Mississauga Swimming, Forest Glen Baseball. Anyway, I'll stop.
I was going to say, I feel like you've only scratched the surface, to be honest here. It is remarkable when you think about the number of groups that operate in our city, right? Like it really is.
Yeah, and when I was going through the list, it's just, when I'm looking at these questions, I'm like, oh my God, if I don't say this group, are people going to be offended? So, but I think the main message is, one, before I got elected, I was introduced to so many incredible community groups, service groups, cultural organizations. Basically, it's really about a volunteer base that is just so incredible in our city. And then my commitment when I did run for office was to ensure that I stay connected to, and whenever any one of these organizations, whether they were in Ward 3 or whether they were in another part of our city, reached out to me with an idea or asking for some sort of help. And usually it's because they want to collaborate in one way or another, was to ensure that I would always meet with them to find a way that they could continue, because I know the great work that they all do, and find a way to ensure that they can continue and can continue to do incredible things for everybody in our city, because it really opens up opportunity. Just like when I was a young kid, all of these organizations took the time to spend with me.
Right.
And they're all volunteers. At that time, I didn't realize, you don't think about when you're a kid, how many thousands of volunteer hours groups put into community. They're giving back. And so that was one commitment I made, that as a counselor, I would be in a position to ensure that, the little bit of whatever I could do to help support these groups and really advocate for them, the return is, 1,000-fold.
Right. And it talks about, building blocks of a city that continue to evolve and grow and
Absolutely.
being key in our city. If you could point, if I could ask you, people that were impactful to you in the city, is there, say, two or three names that jump out that say,
Oh,
I know, they get the audience,
oh my
you can't get
God.
everybody, but just people that help shape the city in your eyes.
Oh my God. It's so hard to stick to two or three. I can't stick to two or three.
Fair enough.
But I don't know. It really is difficult because there's so many people. But I will say, and outside of Hazel, I
Mhm.
won't name any other elected officials because, then that's going down a little bit of a rabbit hole. But I will say Hazel, just because one, hardworking, always promoting the city, always, and connecting. And you know, your final question is about the next 50 years, but
Yeah.
so she had this vision, but it wasn't just about her vision. She would always talk about, um, okay, so if you have this vision, if you're whatever organization, whatever individual, whatever group, whatever business, okay, you're you're saying to me that you want my help. Well, what are you going to do to make that happen? And so she was out there always promoting our city as an incredible city. She was the best advert. I mean, she was always not only advocating, but welcoming and inviting people. But at the same time, she would hold everyone accountable, meaning everybody has to do their part. They have to do their share. They have to pull their own weight, so to speak. So I will say Hazel. I don't know. It's really hard to say. I mentioned Luzo, and uh, Luzo is and through Jack Prazeres, who's from the Portuguese community. I've known Jack because of my Portuguese connection through my husband. Uh, just the incredible things that he has done in the city, not only in the city of Mississauga, but also in Toronto and Hamilton through the Luzo organization. Yes, he's a business owner. Yes, he's obviously from one specific Portuguese. He has Portuguese heritage, but his vision in the actions that he's taken to ensure that those living with disabilities are going to be not only supported, but really um, highlighting and having their abilities shine, so that the quality of life for individuals and also their families will be long lasting. It's just incredible for what he has done, and also his what he did in his time as the chair of Carasaga. Uh, Really incredible. So I will name him because he's safe to name. And then on the Ukrainian side, I will name Fedir Danilak, who is the chair, or not chair, president, I guess, or choreographer for Barvinok.
Yeah.
Again, he is somebody he was a teacher by trade. He's retired now. But just the joy he has given into, and he taught individuals with special needs, and the joy that he has brought to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of families and kids through culture, dance, and also awareness throughout the city of Mississauga is pretty incredible. I mean, I could go on and on. Any of the leaders in Knights of Columbus or Lions, um, the I don't know, I could name some individuals. Maybe I'll just name a few individuals from Ward 3 specifically. Um, there's the Webster family, Brian and Wendy Webster, again, volunteering through sport, specifically through hockey and Applewood. The Midoff family, so involved in getting people out and enjoying nature and out riding their bikes, long before I was a councillor. Mark Zizik, again, another volunteer through sport. Megan Nichols, not a volunteer, but just in terms of her leadership through the food bank. David Estabrooks, who's been instrumental in looking to have affordable seniors housing. Edna and Mike Toth. Huda Abbas from MyAg, Amy Chen, Fran Ryder, Diane Kalinchuk, Dave Cook, who I had the opportunity to be able to sit on. Unfortunately, when Councillor Tovey, when Jim Tovey passed, but Dave Cook, having that opportunity to sit with him on council, I opened my eyes further and only underscored the importance of remembering and recording our history and our heritage. And Ron Duquette, another one. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I could go on forever. I'll have to stop there.
It always is. It talks about giving back, though, right? Like these people that help make this
all
place.
of these people, I think. Jake Deere.
Can't forget Jake.
Can never. The thing is that, yeah, for me, they made such a great impression on me. Again, before I was elected, right. Whether I was as a young individual growing up, and whether I interacted with him long before I came onto council, whether it was as Peter's wife when he was an elected official, well, he's still an elected official, but when I wasn't an elected official, and or since my time on council since 2010, they are always looking for ways to give back to the community.
And they help make this place an amazing place to live.
Yeah, and I feel terrible because I had like 5 pages of people that have influenced me. So unfortunately,
thank you to all.
Not enough time.
There isn't, but again, thank you to all who have. So if we can sum up, I'm going to give you a minute because we're close to the end of our time here. If you could prognosticate for the next 50 years and had a wish for the city of Mississauga 50 years from now, what would it be? How would Mississauga be in 50 years?
I think one, I hope that we all along the housing continuum, I hope that we have done, collaborating with all orders of government, the build community, not-for-profit organizations. I hope that we have we're way further along the road of providing housing right across our city, within neighborhoods that is accessible and supportive for everyone, no matter what walk of life they come from. Diversity has always been our strength, and I hope that we will be able to find creative, supportive, and incredible ways to celebrate that. I hope that we will continue. When I'm sitting in council chambers, I see the villages in the chamber. Yep. I hope that we will continue as we grow as an urban city to strengthen our local villages or local communities and neighborhoods, protecting and enhancing and celebrating our green spaces, waterways, and our incredible waterfront, and looking for ways to continue to include everyone, continuing into the next 50 years, especially for the health and well-being physical health, mental health and well-being, and also community safety and well-being of all of our residents. And this infrastructure goes right local into our neighborhoods. And so that is really important to connect local neighborhoods and our local villages to the greater city of Mississauga. Also, I think my wish in the next 50 years is that we continue to welcome innovative ideas, supporting businesses, small, local, large, Fortune 500, but to ensure really the next generation, so the young generation or new generation of anyone coming to the city, whether you're born in our city or you're arriving in our city, from now out to the next 50 years, that we continue to find ways to engage everyone, to really inspire and also, and most importantly, empower everyone, so that they feel that they can create their own memories within their community that they live in our city or work in, and they can create their own legacy. I think that for me, that is extremely important. So it's a big list. Want to continue to be an incredible global city, and continue to welcome everyone, but make sure that they can practically do it and live in an affordable, inclusive community where they feel that they can build their own memories and create legacy moving forward.
I don't know that I could say that any better. That's a wonderful wish for the city. A place that kind of respects where it's been, but has a plan for moving forward, and welcomes everyone and welcomes everyone's ideas. And I think that's a nice dream to have for our city as it grows from this point forward. So, with that, Councillor Fonseca, thank you so much. And with apologies to everyone who we didn't get to name, but for everyone who's helped build this city and help inspire you to continue building the city, I want to say thank you as well. But in particular, thank you for spending some time and wandering down moments and milestones with us here with Heritage Mississauga. Well, take care and best of luck on council. I know you've overseen council here in a number of years of change, and just good luck moving forward as well and celebrating the 50th and beyond. So thank you.
Thank you, Matthew.
Take care. Thank you for spending some time with us here at Ask a Historian. And thank you also to Ward 3 Councillor Chris Fonseca for sharing moments and milestones with us for the City of Mississauga's 50th anniversary. Like, subscribe, and follow us, and stay up to date on all the heritage happenings with Heritage Mississauga. And we will see you on future episodes of Ask a Historian.